Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are Bad Moms in Business, the podcast.
I'm Bridgette Robertson.
I'm Amanda Sharp.
I'm Danielle Monahan. So today, I think we're going to talk about our debt stories. We've talked about this a little bit here and there, and we thought this would be a really cool topic idea. So we're going to get into some of our stories about debt and how we've handled it and how we've mastered it. But first, how's everybody doing? Because I think it's snowing outside.
It is snowing. It is. And it's not just, I mean, it's snowing outside.
It's like legitimately snowing. We live in Michigan, Michigan weather.
So listen to me. I looked at a memory. I love Facebook memories. And there was a picture. This was like last week. And there was a picture of Owen when he was younger playing with Dexter, throwing a snowball up in the air because we got like a foot worth of snow that April.
Weird.
And I said to Owen, I was like, man, this is like the first April that I can remember that there hasn't been snow. He's like, Mom, why would you have said that? Now there's snow. So
this is Amanda's fault.
I will suck it up and take the blame.
Okay.
The words, this is the first April I can remember with no snow came out of my mouth literally last week. But I mean, it's April 20th, the day that we're recording this. So one would think we're out of the woods for a potential snowstorm.
You would think. I do remember a couple of years ago, it snowed on May 1st, but it was just like a flurry and didn't actually stick to anything. But this was a couple of years ago, and I vividly remember it because I was crabby about it then too.
Well,
I don't know if this is this supposed to stick? I can't see the ground. So I don't know.
So it's not sticking yet.
Okay.
But I heard that we are supposed to get like inches tonight.
This is absurd. This is absurd.
I took my car to the car wash yesterday and cleaned it out. So
good job.
Yeah.
And I was literally sitting on my deck yesterday soaking up 65-degree sun. And I put that picture in our VIP group. I thought I was looking good. Took a picture and realized I didn't look good. So if you want to take a peek at that picture, go to our Facebook VIP group and take a peek. You want to feel good? Go look at that.
Seriously, why does that always happen? I'm like, oh, I know that this is going to be a good picture. And then I'm just like,
and I was like, the intention was like a self-care post, right? Because I was feeling so good. I was warm and relaxed. And I just felt like I was getting sun-kissed. And I was like, this is perfect for a Facebook post. And I looked at it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is bad. My lips were like.
You looked beautiful, Amanda.
Liars.
Stop it.
Liars.
Stop it. Speaking of the Facebook VIP group, go over there right now. Look at Amanda's picture, of course. But if you are not in the Southeast Michigan area, if you are not getting snow right now, because I know some people are getting some amazing weather, share us pictures so we can live vicariously because this is sad. I'm crabby about it.
Yes, it's crabby. So let's talk about something that makes us even more crabby. Debt.
Money. Debt. So I think when we started off talking about this last time, Bridgette, we were talking about your amazing transformation. So why don't you kick us off with your story?
Okay. So I, along with my husband, crawled us out of $25,000 worth of credit card debt. It started very, very innocently. Chris had a credit card in college for his books and stuff like that. And his mom said, as long as you are in school, I will pay this credit card for you. But the moment you leave college before graduating, this becomes yours. And because of life situations, he had to leave college and we inherited that credit card. It was not a significant amount of money. I can't remember how much it was, if I'm being completely honest, but that kind of started us off on our journey in credit card debt. And it happened very, very quickly and very, very easily. I saw something that I wanted, didn't have the money for it in my bank account because we made very little money at the time. And so I'm such an instant gratification person that it's like, I didn't want to save and wait for it. I wanted it now. So this is how it happened. We also, Chris has multiple sclerosis, in case people listening don't know that. And when he was diagnosed, both of us worked full-time jobs at Detroit Metro Airport at the, as baggage handlers and ramp agents and, whatever, lots of different jobs there, but we made very little money. And his medicine was $1,500 a month.
Oh my God.
And we just could not afford that on top of what we were paying for our house, on top of what we were paying for everything else.
That hurts.
Mm-hmm. And so we were putting that on credit cards.
And that was with insurance.
That was with insurance.
We don't need to get into this now. Maybe we can save this for a whole other topic idea. But that right there should not be allowed. That is one of America's biggest issues, in my opinion, is our medical system, our insurance system. That is insane.
Yeah, it is. And we were very lucky that we only had to do that for a handful of months because there's an awesome program through the National Multiple Sclerosis Society that ended up helping us and paying for that medication while he was on it. But we did have probably $3,000, $4,500 worth of debt just in that. So anyway, debt happens. It happens for a variety of different reasons. $25,000, a lot of it was frivolous. Some of it was necessary. And we tried for years to get out of it, only to get right back into it. Again, for a variety of different reasons. So some of the tactics we used, I think that's what we wanted to talk about, right? At one point, Chris and I decided that we were going to try and settle them on our own because they have these debt consolidation companies, right? Where you pay them X amount of dollars a month and they consolidate it for you. But you can do that on your own for free. You don't need to pay a company to do that. You can call Visa and say, hey, listen, I owe you $5,000. Will you settle with us if we can give you $2,000 right now? And a lot of the time they will do that. The only problem with that is whatever you don't pay, so that $3,000 difference, for example, is claimed on your taxes as income at the end of the year.
I was not aware of that.
I was not either.
Really good to know.
Yes. We only did that with one credit card, but we had to claim that difference between what we owed and what they settled for as income.
Wow.
So that hurt us at tax time. So that was one of the tactics. We did take money from my 401k at one point, not a lot, a couple $1,000s, and paid off a card that way. I don't know if you guys are familiar. I'm sure everybody for the most part is familiar with Dave Ramsey and his plan, which is the debt snowball.
Yep.
And just a quick recap of what that is I think he gives you the option to choose whether you're going to pay off the card with the lowest interest rate first, or the highest balance first, or the lowest payment first. There's a couple different ways you can attack it. I believe that the way I chose to do it was to take the card with the least amount on it, because I wanted to feel I could pay that one off. And then you would feel some sense of accomplishment, right? Like I did it. So if the minimum payment on that, let's just say, is $25, you can pay the minimum payment on the rest of your cards and then take a bigger bulk of money and start attacking that small credit card. Once you have that paid off, you take what you were paying on there and move it to the next one, and then to the next one, and then to the next one. We did that for a little while. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of discipline. And Dave Ramsey's approach is, if you don't have money set aside in your savings account, you don't go out to eat, you don't go to the movies, you don't have any sort of fun whatsoever. And we were young and we wanted to go to the movies and we wanted to go to dinner.
Of course.
And so we did not follow it to a T, but we followed it enough to get a little bit further out of debt. But the last thing that I did, and whether or not this was a good idea or not, I don't know, but it's what worked for us. There's a company called Best Egg. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's another loan. But I was able to get a loan for the $20,000 that I needed through them. I was able to then, they put the cash in my account. I was able to pay off each credit card. And then I just owed one payment to Best Egg for 3 years until it was paid off. And it was a lot of money every single month, but it actually saved me about $250 a month doing it that way.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure the interest rate was much lower than what credit card companies are charging you.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool.
So I was able to do it that way. And I did end up paying it off before the 3 years was up, but it was a journey. I mean, 6, 7, 8, 9 years in the making. And had we not done that, I think we would still be paying off credit cards and debt from our 20s. That's, I mean, it's bad.
Well, the credit card companies are in the business to make money, and they do everything possible from brainwashing us to knowing our human natures, our weaknesses, and it's no different than the cigarette companies, the alcohol companies. Like they know our human weaknesses, and we easily can fall victim to it. So you fell victim. I mean, so much of America and globally falls victim.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it's a shame too, because there's always an incentive, right? You go to Target and they say, well, if you open up this card, you'll save 5% today. And it's like,
absolutely.
I need
every time.
What a savings. I need to do that. And then it gets to be so easy. Oh, I need a new pair of pants. Well, I have that Target credit card. I can just put it on there. And that's how it happens.
You can also, side note, have the Target Red card and still get your 5% off, but have it linked directly to your bank account. Because that's what I do.
But Danielle, if you are 23 and broke,
so true.
You can't have anything come out of your checking account because there's nothing there.
So true.
And I think, your story brings such a good point to what happens. They do prey on these young people, and by the time they're 25, they're in over their head, and to get out of debt is so hard, but to get into it is so easy. And you're a success story, Bridget. I mean, most people do not get to where you're at. They do not recover. They may do better each month by paying off things and being better with their money and not charging, but that repayment plan can take 8 years, 12 years, 20 years, especially if just minimum payments are being made.
And let's be honest too, that we as an American society are not necessarily taught this kind of stuff in high school to the level that it should be, at least not in my high school. I mean, if your high school did, more power to you, but my high school did not teach us anything about finances and credit cards and interest rates and rollovers, none of that.
No, we were taught how to balance a checkbook, which
I think we were taught that too in like 7th grade or something. You know how far away I am from having a checking account like that.
I do remember a teacher telling me about how, not me specifically, our class, about rolling over your debt. So if you've got a credit card that has $5,000 on it with an interest rate of, 8% or whatever, open up a 0% interest card and then roll that debt into that one. But you're just continually opening cards and rolling and rolling and rolling.
My high school didn't teach anything. Not any classes that I took anyways, but we've, rival high schools and all. We've talked about this.
And I feel like we should throw in the disclosure. We're not financial experts by any means.
Gosh, no.
We're not lawyers. We're not tax people. We're not accountants. We're nothing. And we're not against necessarily credit cards. We're against the excessive spending that puts people into a tragic position.
Spending above your means.
Yes. And
period.
It's just too easy to do that. And I wish there was more regulations around it, where interest rates are regulated to some degree, right? Why is it allowed that a credit card could charge you 25, 28% interest? I don't understand that.
That's insane. And if we did our recent episode about being in real estate and stuff like that. But if you look at interest rates in houses and you look at that, let's call it 5%. Okay. Because things are starting to creep back up. I don't think we'll see a 5% for some time. Once upon a time, my first house was bought for a 5% interest rate. And I thought it was fantastic. But if you look at that kind of breakdown and you see how much is actually going towards your principal and stuff, and you think of 25% interest on a credit card, that's insane.
And people who don't know enough about it don't understand why they're not getting out of debt, making minimum payments.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you make $25, maybe $3 is going towards the actual principal of that card. And that's the whole school system's a whole different conversation. But there needs to be more real life education in school than some 100%. Of these other courses. Danielle, your story is much different than Bridget. Yes. So I would love, even though it's slightly out of order, I feel like we want to give some people some optimism.
So my story is very different. And I don't say this to be boastful or braggy at any length. I have never not paid off the full amount of a credit card every single month. I've come very close to not, but I have never not done that. My mom is a very frugal person. She was brought up with nothing. I mean, and I don't mean to say that in a very bad way. She had a very lovely upbringing, but they were poor. They had very little money. A lot of times it was just my grandma's income that they were living off of. She was making like $3 an hour or something like that, working in a factory. She had 4 kids, that whole story. So they grew up with very little, not wanting or I guess not needing for anything, but they had very little. So when my mom was old enough to support herself and be on her own, she was from day one. And she's always been, I don't know where she got it, honestly. She's been very good with money since day one. And even having me at a young age, she just did it. And so that's the way that she raised me. I was allowed to get a credit card at 18, but she had a very close monitor on my financial situation. I had a bank account at, I guess, 16 when I started working, and she was I don't know, I forget like how that's phrased, but she was like the main person on the account. And I was like the person who was like putting the money into the account so she could keep a close eye on me every step of the way, until I turned 18. And then she trusted me enough to leave that account. But she just always made sure to drive home. You do not spend above your means. This is what this is what you make. This is what you're allotted. Here are your bills, blah, blah, blah. Like we always had a very strict relationship like that with money. And it's just something that I've carried over into adulthood. My mom doesn't like stuff. She doesn't like stuff. She's not a big spender of money on stuff. And I feel like I rebelled against that for a while. And I definitely still like things more than she does. But now that I'm working on this whole minimalism thing, I'm trying very hard. It's a whole process. It's a whole journey. But I've just tried to always remember that. And it's the same thing. Brandon and I are the same way. We have separate credit cards. You buy your stuff, I'm gonna buy my stuff, but we always pay them off every month. And it's just something that's been instilled in me. I can remember helping my mom balance her checkbooks and all of that stuff as a kid. Like that was fun for me because hello nerd. I got to use highlighters and different colored pens and stuff for different things. Like this is me in my life. I have definitely not struggled with money because I definitely have. I've worked crappy jobs for much of my life, but I've also, up until recently, always had more than one job. So fun fact, until I got into real estate, I never made over $10 an hour. Never made over $10 an hour. And I've worked at labs and I've worked at doctor's offices and you name it. I mean, I was making minimum wage pretty much my entire adulthood until getting into real estate, apart from working as a waitress. Because I guess when you work as a waitress, you get paid so far below minimum wage, but then you get tips and stuff like that. So it kind of balances out. But I've just always been very careful of you pay your bills first and then you see whatever else is left over and then you can get stuff. So it's been something that's just been instilled into me from day one. But all of that stems back from her childhood and the fact that she grew up with not much.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I feel like you're going to instill that into Watson, because
100%.
that's what your experience is. And honestly, on the flip side, I feel like Chris and I can instill in our children, we know what it's like to be so deep in debt that there is no extra because you're paying, oh gosh, it doesn't matter. But these experiences are things that we can take back to our kids.
I will also say, Bridget, you have kind of helped Brandon and I a little bit as far as like our bank accounts go and stuff like that. We have a lot of different nuances, especially for we're not a very traditional married couple. Like he has his money, I have my money, we have our joint money. We're very different in that regard. But something that we've started to do over, I want to say like for sure the last 2 years, but maybe 2.5 years, it's hard to remember when we started, is to really pay ourselves first and to figure out like, okay, here's how we're going to divvy up this money. And it's all because of Bridget telling us about this bank that she uses and all of that kind of fun stuff. I don't know if you wanted to get into any of that, but we pay ourselves first. So when we get paid, we put money into specific accounts every single time we get paid. We put them into specific accounts for Watson savings, for our savings, for our taxes, because we have to pay for our own taxes. And then we have a business account as well. And so we do all of that before we even look at like the money that we have to spend for everything else.
And that has helped tremendously as in our jobs, we get paid kind of randomly, right? I mean, you don't know when your next closing is going to be. Even if you have 8 things going, there's always changes, there's always delays, there's things, the stuff can fall apart in the middle. Like it's just a mess. And it can be super, super stressful. So for me, someone who has notoriously been bad with money, to be handed a check that's sometimes a significant amount of money, old me would be like, look at what I have. Let's go shopping. And new responsible me, but I had to set it up that way. So yes, every time I get paid, it goes into an online bank account. A certain percentage gets put aside for taxes. A certain percentage goes into savings. And then another percentage kind of stays in like the bigger pot. And then every 2 weeks, I pay myself from that bigger pot into our joint checking account. And so I'm giving myself a paycheck just like I did when I was working a 9-to-5 job. And I have not given myself a raise in like 4 years. I'm still giving. It is still good. Yeah. I'm giving myself what I made when I worked at American Express every 2 weeks. So it's been
But you know you can live off that.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of it, is like, this is tried and true. You know that you can, allot this amount of money for yourself, even though you may want this amount, you can do this amount because this is what you've lived off of for so long. There's such beauty in that. And the fact that you are the new more responsible you because of the hardship that you guys had to like claw your way through. Oh my gosh, I give you so much credit for that. And I feel like we gave you a moment of silence or like a round of applause or something last time we talked about it. But seriously, people need to really stop and think about how often people can do that. And it's not very often that people actually try as hard as you guys did to pull yourself out of that. And I love you guys so much. That's huge.
Thank you so much. And if there's someone, that wants more information about what I did or specifically how we did it, I would be happy to talk to you, because I want that feeling for everybody. When I made that last payment, I could have cried.
I believe it.
Absolutely.
It was such a weight lifted. I can't tell you how many hours of sleep I lost thinking like, oh my gosh, this payment is due tomorrow. And this is how much money I have coming in from my check and from Chris's check, or Chris doesn't get paid till next week, but this is due. It is so emotionally and mentally taxing to be that much in debt. And I know that my story, I mean, there's people who are in far worse debt than we were. And there's people who maybe only have $5,000 worth of debt, but they feel that that's insurmountable.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to know that it's not, and that you can do it, and it's going to take time, and you have to have patience, and there's sacrifices to be made. But I was a firm believer in, yes, I can go out to dinner tonight with my friends and still pay off my debt. So anyway.
And I think the importance and the key there in that conversation is, as long as you're not going into further debt.
Correct.
To do those things. I think that's the difference. You know, if you've made all your payments and that's extra money, you're just not applying the extra money you might have towards the debt. You're using it to still protect your mental health, which we have to do. We again, you weren't going into debt to go out with your friends and have a good time, to keep you in the spirit of, you got to have wins.
Yes.
You got to be rewarded.
Yes. Yeah. And Dave Ramsey would tell you, if you still have a credit card, you don't go out to debt. You take that $50 and you put that on your debt. And I am here to tell you that you can do that, but it gets real hard, and it's real easy to fall right back into those old patterns of, well, he said I can't use this $50 to go do something I want to do. I'll put it on my debt. And then something comes along and you're like, man, I really wish I had that $50. Well, here, this credit card is almost paid off. What's 50 more? Like, it's such a nasty cycle.
And I think it's a good point to bring up that maybe that is the tactic that some people need. Like, if you, there are people who are all or nothing people.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to go in this all the way, or I'm out of it all the way. And then there's the people who can do like the bite-sized pieces here and there and just kind of chunk away at it. And if you know that you are this all or nothing person when it comes to money, because I think you can be different things for different points in your life, for different items, I guess, for lack of a better word. But like, if you, with money and your credit cards, if you are I'm going to save and pay off these cards and do nothing else, or I'm going to be the opposite side of that, then that's probably the tactic that you need to take with this, because it can be such a slippery slope. You know, if I'll use a lighthearted example. I am like this. I'm an all or nothing person with Chips Ahoy cookies. I will have no Chips Ahoy cookies, or I will have all of them. That is my life. So I just choose to not have them.
Well, and I think like a diet mentality is very similar to getting out of debt. I mean, I think that's super fair. You know, if you don't have a cheat day occasionally, sometimes you're just going to go the heck with it. I can't do this all the time. You need to have that little bit of reward to get you through the 6 days of actually really grinding hard.
For sure.
So I don't think anything's wrong with that.
No. And I think to find the approach for you. And there's so many resources out there. Even TikTok is a great resource. There's so many people on there that give you budgeting advice, money saving advice, wealth advice. So as crazy as that sounds, TikTok is
interesting.
A good place to look. And I'm sure, you know, the internet is a wealth of knowledge. So you'll find what you're looking for. But if you want someone, you know, that you know, because you're here with us every week and you just want to chat, let me know. But Amanda.
Yes.
And I was going to actually bring up TikTok, because there's a lot of TikTokers that are completely against the Dave Ramsey way. Like, very much. I feel like it's tried and true, and his way is good for a certain, you know, population, but they really hit home and reach the other population that's not feasible for. So that is so interesting that you brought that up, because there's a great amount of people to talk about that. My struggle with debt is an up and down and up and down and up and down, because as we all know, Amanda lives very much in the moment. I could be dead tomorrow, so you better believe I'm living good today. Because there's so much. And, you know, I did not get, you know, I loved money, but I wasn't like money hungry, you know? So I, as we all know, I've been working since I was like very, very young, making money, but I also like to spend money. I like to give. And so till this day, I still struggle financially every single moment of my life. The more money I make, the more I give away, the more I use for other things. It's not like I'm ever buying stuff for me. This shirt is literally like 15 years old.
We can tell. We know.
I know, right? Amanda, that print is so 1971. You weren't even born. Listen, God. I can handle that comment, Bridgette. I can handle that comment because that's just me. Listen. Get yourself together.
I'm sorry.
So everyone can get a really good look.
Please head over to our Instagram, our Facebook, or our YouTube. If you are just listening to this, you can get a picture of Amanda in this shirt.
I mean, look at my shirt. My shirt has dogs and like.
I guarantee you that's new, though.
I mean.
But that's my point. Like, you don't have to be a spender for yourself in the love of your own stuff to be in debt. You know, I never want to tell my baby no. Like, I want to be able to give him everything he wants and desires and needs because he's a good kid and I feel like he deserves it. It's just how I choose to mom. And it's not like I mean, he is spoiled, but he's not spoiled rotten.
Yeah. Difference.
I can't even tell my husband no. I like to be able to get him anything he desires. And sometimes there is a no because we literally just don't have a way of doing it. But if there is a way, you better believe I'm figuring it out because I want them to be able to be happy again in the now. We all know the story how I literally quit work after I had Owen and just didn't go back. We financially couldn't afford that, but I did it anyway. And I find the means to make it work. And at the time, I completely cashed out our 401ks to pay off credit card debts. So that way, all we had was, I think, a car payment and our house payment. And we made it work for as long as we can. So anytime there's a shift or a change, I find a way to make it work. And sometimes that includes debt. And I don't regret any of it because I'll die with debt if I have to. So I'm not.
You're in the middle.
I'm in the middle and kind of maybe extreme. And that doesn't mean I don't want to live comfortably. Like I do want to live comfortably. But the point is there are certain seasons that sometimes you need that extra that just physically isn't there. I mean, we spoke about this real estate market.
Ugh.
If mama doesn't make some closings, the money's just not there. So there's going to have to be maybe a utilization of something to get through whatever, because it's just the way that the nature of this business works. And it's not from lack of not trying or whatever. We explained how hard it was on our last episode because it's real insane right now, this real estate market. So I don't do it out of, what is the word I'm looking for? To have luxurious things or keeping up with the Joneses. That's not my intention. I just live in the moment and try to have what we need during that moment to make life work. And that's how I do it. I don't have a 401k now because of it, but I mean, whatever. Worry about it later.
I plan every aspect of my life down to the last penny.
Which is a very good thing, and I love that, and I respect that. And I wish I could be more like that.
And I wish I could be more live in the moment because that would be nice.
See, and I feel like I'm a balance between the two of you a little bit when it comes to living in the moment. Like, I will still buy pretty much whatever I want when I want it.
I'm just fairly like that too. I mean, new microphone. Hello.
Right. Right. New shirt with a dog on it, right? Like, hello.
I mean, it's kind of cute.
It's really kind of silly, but it looked like Ariel and it was purple, and I was like, I need that. Anyway, I think Amanda, I would say that most people are probably like you, carrying some sort of balance at all time. I'm assuming at all times. I just put words in there.
And the balances fluctuate based on current seasons.
Circumstances.
Current
seasons.
circumstances.
I like it.
Yep.
Yeah, I would assume that most people will identify probably with you because I do have a credit card. I have a business credit card, and Chris has like a in case of emergency card. There's no balance on his. And mine I use for business and then I pay it off every month. And sometimes do I want to pay it off? Heck no.
Right.
But I do because I know how easily I can fall back into minimum payments for sure. But I'm very strict about it is for business and for like DoorDash. Somehow I got hooked up to my DoorDash app. And so
see,
it's fine though.
I don't think they come out here. I don't know. I'm struggling with that whole thing.
They don't come out for me. And that's what I literally am saying. Like, it's not like I treat myself to anything special to have that debt. It's always to benefit some
others.
Grander scheme. Yeah, it's so silly.
Well, and I can say, like, I know personally that you are such a giving person and that you would give someone the 15-year-old shirt off of your back.
This is so true.
And that's not like trying to make me sound like a good person. That is just to explain I can't turn that part of me off.
Right.
And truly, if someone came up to me and said, I need money and I didn't have it, I would try and find a way to get it, to give to them instead of even myself, even though there was both a need, so it's a sickness in me that I can't just turn off.
I wouldn't call it a sickness. You're just a very selfless person.
Yeah.
I think more people probably need a part of that in them.
Yeah.
If what I can say is I wish credit cards did not exist. I wish they just weren't allowed because then I think globally we would be a much financially stronger human population.
You know what's interesting is when I was younger, I thought having a credit card, and I kind of had this mentality back then, that having a credit card, I was going to be more free with my money because, I can't see the actual transaction of money. And that's really the way that it was. It was much easier for me to use that card as opposed to using money. And then something switched as I became an adult. Or I guess I was an adult when I had a credit card, but as I reached like my later 20s, I felt like all of a sudden now the handing over of money wasn't affecting my bank account. Like I couldn't see that transaction happening. So now I think handing over money is much more of like a freeing thing as opposed to using the card. Isn't that weird?
Well, it's not weird. It's how it should be because when you hand a credit card, they've brainwashed us this thing that, there's no transaction to it. There's no pain and suffering until once a month you're writing out that bill. Yep. Where if you had a $50 bill and you're literally having to hand that off every single time you're making some sort of purchase or exchange, it stinks as you see it get smaller and smaller. When I worked in the hardware store,
Amanda,
older people would maybe have a 50 or 100 in their wallet, and they would try anything not to break that 50 or that 100. And they would always say, well, because once you break it, it's just gone.
Yeah.
We weren't wrong. It was so right. See, I wish the older generation told us more stories.
Maybe we just have to ask.
Oh,
but I feel like there's like the older generation that did used to tell stories have passed away and are gone. It's the new older generation that's not doing the storytelling like they used to.
Well, and let's be honest though, the new older generation, aka our parents, if we're being honest. I mean, not that they're old, but
for sure.
They're
Poor Aunt Lori. Every single time she gets dragged into this.
And I'm not even talking about my mom. If my dad were still here, for example, I learned my spending habits from my father, who didn't matter what it cost. He wanted it, so he was getting it. And that is how I handled money for a very long time. And so to hear him tell it would not be a great example to follow. I think the generation before them, their parents, because they lived through leaner years, they had to learn how to make it stretch. And I think our parents' generation is really the generation that was first introduced to credit and buying things with through financing, and you can get that new couch because you can pay it off over 3 years and it doesn't matter right now. And could you imagine, like, our grandparents did not go out and buy things that they couldn't afford? No way.
No. My grandma Patrick used to have plastic on her furniture.
Because it had to last
because
those 20
it had
years.
to last forever. And I think that there is so much we could have learned from that generation. And I feel bad that a lot of those wonderful things and those stories and those good habits died with them.
Mhm.
Things change.
For sure.
You know, so I don't want to ever like live in the past, even though I love the 80s stuff. But anywho.
Amanda in her 80s.
I just love, it just makes me happy. What I will say personally, and y'all can do what you want, but I know I am trying to be a better steward with my stories. Where when I have an opportunity to share with somebody maybe that I've met on Clubhouse or whatever the case may be, somebody I meet in person, any younger kids, like I'm not going to be a keeper to myself of those stories. I want to be a keeper of them, but to share them. So hopefully they can learn through my experiences, not just, like health-wise too. There's a lot of stories we could share about that, like women's health, mental health, or pregnancy stories as we're sharing, because it's making it normal and it's a good thing to share.
That's what I was just going to say is when you said, you wanted to be a sharer of your stories, I was like, I guess I don't have any stories to tell. But then I was like, what are we doing right now?
Yes.
This is what we do every week. We're sharing our stories. So this is our legacy.
It is.
Lives on.
And I got put in my place on Clubhouse the other day. I have to share.
Ooh.
I know.
I wasn't even on there to do it. Who did
No, there was something, I was in a room and we were talking. It was about the room that I was saying, like we were pitching ourselves and it was kind of a way to thought provoke on how you can maybe like monetize a business model. And it was just like a brainstorming like room just to kind of sum it all up. And, I was talking and somebody said something about, like a course idea where it was something as simple as they had listened to the podcast episode of our Easter and how I did an Easter basket for Marcus. And she had said she had never heard of that before. And no one she's known has really done that. And I was like
just for an Easter basket for their spouse. Nobody had ever heard of that before.
Yeah. Which is interesting. And so, I mean, that created extra dialogue. And she's like, these are the things that she goes, I love that story. I'm like, that's such an ordinary story. It's like, but it's ordinary to you.
I guess it's different because we know you and we know the type of person that you are. So like, I have also never, I guess now that I think about it, have never heard of anybody doing that either. But when you told me, I was just like, oh, that's Amanda.
That's Amanda.
I mean, I do it too. So...
That's Bridgette too. But the point is, there was still stories in the ordinary. So she was like, don't discount the ordinary for you. Share those stories because to somebody else, it's anything but ordinary. And that really spoke to me. So I guess maybe I shouldn't have said put in my place, but it really gave me that aha moment going, oh, interesting. There is lessons in the ordinary sometimes. So
absolutely.
That's just my little
I dig it.
Nugget.
I like that.
Sorry, it was a side tangent.
It was a good one, though.
Thanks.
It's still snowing. I'm sorry. I just wanted to point your attention to that. It's still snowing. So
it's even coming down faster now.
It's starting to stick a little bit, at least out here.
Is it?
We started this podcast about snow. We're ending it with snow.
And I'm still not amused.
and maybe when you're actually listening to this next Thursday, we might be snowed in because it's
don't say that.
It's Michigan.
I thought you were going to say we're going to have sunshine. It's going to be gorgeous.
We'll be poolside is what I was hoping you were going to say. Snowed in. Good gracious.
If I'm snowed in next Thursday, I'm coming for you, Amanda.
I'm so sorry. The weather forecast doesn't look great. I'm just saying.
Good. Anyway.
So what is our B going to be this day, ladies?
Honestly, I think that you've just inspired me. Be a storyteller.
Dig it. Writing it down.
Ooh, be a storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I like it.
that. Maybe each of us can come up with a story to share, and we can put that in our Facebook VIP group.
Done.
A story about what?
I don't know, any story, any funny story, any sad story, any encouraging story. I don't want to dictate your stories, Bridgette.
Can you dictate mine? Because I'm going to need some sort of
Right. We need some sort of inspiration.
we need guidance here.
I'll come up with something.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Great.
Be a storyteller. I like that.
Yeah.
Because that's basically
cute.
like what Danielle said. This is what we're doing.
Mhm.
This podcast every week. We show up and we tell stories.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun.
Look at us finding our voices.
Oh, it's so much fun. Look at
It
you guys
is.
moving your neck. I don't. One quick story before we go.
Oh, here we go. I didn't mean like literally right now. Tell a story. Let us hear it. Let us hear
I'm
it.
sorry. Okay, so I like to like be silly around Marcus, and so I was doing like a little shimmy.
Mhm.
And he's like, if you want to like move a certain part of your body, you like actually need to move that part of your body. He's like, you wiggle your butt when you're trying to like do your shoulders and stuff. And I'm like, I totally do. So just you all can have that image.
Good.
Fair point, right?
Yep.
I like
Hey,
it.
I have no room to point fingers. I am not a dancer over here.
Nor am I.
No, I'm
Bridget,
not
can you
either.
dance?
No, I pretend. I mean, you point me to the dance floor in a wedding and I'm out there, but it's not cute.
I need drinks to do that.
That's fair. That's fair. I don't.
I need liquid courage. Otherwise,
When we can meet in person again, we'll do a little dance off.
We can do the hustle. Do you guys know the hustle?
I do know the hustle.
We can do that.
It's about the only thing I know how to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to catch, like, I know how to do it, but I'd have to like work on it just to
for
get
sure.
like.
So before my wedding, I wish I was kidding. My friend Kelly and I, we love the hustle. The Stevie Wonder Eyes Don't Cry hustle.
Love that one.
Yes.
Great one.
Yes. Yeah. But I was like not super like familiar with it. I'd only been to a handful of weddings as an adult at that point because I got married in my early 20s. And we used to practice in my living room before my wedding so that we could, like, as the bride and her bridesmaids,
Bust it out.
be out there on the dance floor. So I was a real pro at the hustle by the time my wedding came around.
So what you're saying is, if TikTok existed when you got married, you would have been one of those TikTok wedding reception videos.
Yes.
That's how good you killed it.
Fun.
Yeah.
I like it.
Mhm.
I'm grateful TikTok wasn't around.
Oh my gosh.
Same.
Me too.
That.
Me too.
That's one thing our generation has been blessed with.
Mhm.
We can have it as adults when we kind of have our crap together.
Yeah.
We have the occasional picture from things, but there's not much video proof.
No.
Yeah, and at best, you might have 2 copies of said picture
Mm-hmm.
that you
And the
could-
negatives. Don't forget about the negatives. I have negatives.
I don't even know.
People
what
still have negatives? I have negatives.
I don't have negatives.
Cool.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness. What a tangent we have.
Oh,
just
yeah.
gone off
All
on.
right.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
wrap
It was
this
all
up.
because of the shimmy.
Yeah.
Oh, anywho. All right. We will see everyone next week for another fun episode of Bad Moms in Business. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.